Time now for the most listened to talk show in Vegas.
You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
Race is doing it. Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
What's happening, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Pushing the Limits. Thanks for being here. Could be watching, listening on the FM AM dial, KSHP, on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network. We're on Twitter. We're on our TikTok. We're on YouTube, at PTL Radio Show on X and YouTube. And we appreciate you being a part of the show. And oh, my goodness, we have a lot to get to and a lot to talk about today. And certainly Donald Trump back in the news for what he did on a stage in Chicago with those three black journalists. And we are going to get a take from two very different perspectives here. Coming up in just a few minutes, Caroline Sunshine with the Trump 2024 campaign, the Deputy Communications Director, is going to be joining us to defend his comments yesterday. And then coming up in studio, the former NAACP president out of Las Vegas, Roxanne McCoy, is going to be joining us in studio. So two very different perspectives. And that's what I like on this show. I want to hear from different people. Certainly, I have my own opinions on what took place yesterday. Now, I'm not going to play you every cut because we played some of the cuts yesterday, and I'm not going to play you every one. But I think the one that stands out the most is when Donald Trump is attacking Kamala Harris's blackness, right? Her or lack thereof, blackness. And he's asked about the DEI hire, right? He's asked about that on a stage, and that is the cut I want to play for you now. So this is Donald Trump, and there's plenty of other cuts I could play for you. You've probably heard a lot of them. But this is Donald Trump being asked, do you think Kamala Harris is a DEI hire?
Follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words.
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
Black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe that
think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
All right, so that's one of many things that Donald Trump said yesterday. Some would define it as controversial or even racist. And I've said this before, and I say it again. Kamala Harris's father was born in Jamaica. 94% of those that are born in Jamaica consider themselves Black. She came from a Black middle-class neighborhood. She went to Howard University, which is a historic Black institution. Alpha Kappa Alpha, which is, again, a predominantly Black sorority. And now Laura Loomer and disgusting people like her are trying to post her birth certificate now. You remember the birther issue with Barack Obama? How long did we have that going on for, right? We had that going on with Barack Obama, and Trump started that, and it went on for 5 years, and then Barack Obama shows his birth certificate where he was born. See, here's the problem with this birth certificate. You see, birth certificates in California during the 1960s often did not specify the child's race. Her mother's listing as Caucasian does not change her identity. Her father, as I repeat once again, is from Jamaica. And I don't know, I consider this a double standard, and maybe some people will disagree with me, but if you read Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump identifies himself as Swedish. But Donald Trump is 0% Swedish. His father's German. His mother's Scottish. So wouldn't that same thing, or shouldn't that same thing, be pushed on Donald Trump for putting something in his book that is not true about his background? I'm just saying, folks. And this is the thing that is very confusing to me, is that Trump knew what he's getting into, right? I mean, he had to know what he was getting into when it came to showing up at this NABJ event. He had to know. And my question is, why go on the offensive and why attack? Why not answer the questions, talk about policy? Now, we could all disagree on policy. Donald Trump made some statements like, for example, he was the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Now, obviously, I disagree with that. And I'd like to think that a lot of black people in this country would disagree with that as well. But we can have that conversation. They could have had that conversation. Instead, it turned into she's a DEI hire. She's not really black. I didn't know she was black until a couple of years ago. So on and so forth. And then Donald Trump brings up the whole black job thing, which I found to be extremely strange. Again, nobody can define what a black job is, yet Donald Trump used the term black job. So to me, and I think most Republicans hopefully would agree on this one, is that he embarrassed himself yesterday. But again, there are people out there that disagree. There are some people out there that think, well, you know what? They were mean to him and they were aggressive with him and they were interrupting him. So he had a right to defend himself. Now, I disagree with that. This whole idea of DEI hire, this whole idea of she's not really black, it's not going to help the Republicans, and it's certainly not going to help Donald Trump. I'm sorry, it's just not. But yet they keep doing it and they can't hold back. They keep saying they want to talk about Harris's policies. All right, well then start doing that and stop attacking her for the color of her skin. I thought what took place yesterday was a disgrace and an embarrassment. So we're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out. But, you know, listen, I want to get the other perspective. I want to hear from the other side. So coming up here after the break, and we're going to take a quick break, and coming up after the break, we're going to be speaking with the Donald Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director, Caroline Sunshine, and I'm going to get her side on this. We're going to hear what she has to say about this. I got to say, personally, I don't know how you can defend some of these comments, but hey, we'll always give people the opportunity. Caroline Sunshine, the Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director, is going to be joining us next. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, a very busy news day. And listen, the Trump campaign reached out to me yesterday after what I think some would define as controversial statements that Donald Trump made in Chicago on that stage. And they said, hey, we'd love to get a Trump surrogate to come back on your show to discuss this. I said, absolutely. I'll always give them the opportunity to come on and speak with me. And the lady joining us on the line right now, she is the Donald Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director. She is Caroline Sunshine, who is nice enough to come back on the show. Caroline, I appreciate you coming back on with me. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I am doing good. Appreciate the time. So you know what we're going to talk about today, obviously. My question...
Do I?
I think you do, and it's not going to be about Joe Biden. So this is the part, Caroline, that I just don't understand. I think it's fair game to talk about policy. We talked about this last time, but why is Donald Trump saying she turned black? Like, I just don't understand that statement. I feel like it's offensive. What is your take on that?
Well, it's not Donald Trump that's saying that. It's actually, if you look back at media reports, President Trump was just simply quoting what has already been written in the press. There was an article headline from the Sacramento Bee, of course, where Kamala Harris served in California as Attorney General, hailing her as the first Indian American Attorney General. There's another headline from Business Insider saying the exact same thing. Proud to have Kamala Harris be the first Indian American senator. Kamala Harris, in her own words, described herself as a proud Indian American. So President Trump was simply just literally quoting what has already been written about in the press. I'm not sure why that's controversial.
Understood. She's part Indian American. I think we all could agree on that, but that doesn't mean she's not black either. Both can be true. And my question still stands. This is someone, her father is from Jamaica. 94% of people in Jamaica consider themselves black. She went to Howard University, a historic black institution. She was part of Alpha Kappa Alpha, which is a predominantly black sorority. And again, her father is from Jamaica. So why make those statements and say she turned black? You know as well as anyone, you can't just turn black. Her father's from Jamaica. Her mother is Indian American. And quite frankly, I don't care what some newspaper said. She's
you
both.
Don't?
No, why would I care what I don't even know what some newspaper article said. All I care about is what I know, and that she's Indian American and her father is black. Why can't we just agree on that? And why is Trump obsessed with this? He put out her birth certificate today. And this is another thing that I wanted to ask you about. Birth certificates in California during the 1960s often did not specify the child's race. And while it listed her mother Caucasian, that doesn't change her identity. Why does Trump keep doing this, Caroline?
So it's really the liberal mainstream media that's always obsessed with race and with gender in this country, always. President Trump focuses on the American people. The American people are certainly focused on, I would like to say, the issues that matter to every American, whether they're black, white, brown, doesn't matter. But it's the media that is always so obsessed with race and with gender. You watch the first question, President Trump, there's a lot to unpack here. But you look at President Trump, who attended you're talking about Kamala Harris being a black woman. Can you answer for me why the likely nominee of the Democrat Party, a black woman, did not attend? Didn't think it was worth her time. She had a scheduling conflict. Well, the scheduling conflict was having lunch with the president in the White House. I'm going to tell you something. I worked in the West Wing of the White House. that does not meet the definition of a scheduling conflict.
Well,
the president and vice president can have, let me finish. The president and vice president can have lunch anytime they want. That is PR speak for she didn't want to go. So I think what Kamala Harris needs to answer is, look, President Trump clearly showed yesterday he has no problem going to places to take tough questions. He has no problem going to environments that probably aren't going to be particularly friendly to him. He's proved this for a long time, though. I mean, President Trump never turns down a tough interview. We never screen his questions. When he's out and about, he'll take questions from anyone, anytime, any place, anywhere. You saw the debate performance where he ended up ending Joe Biden's political career. That was, of course, hosted by CNN. But what you're not seeing is you don't see Kamala Harris go campaign in, I don't know, let's say deep red Alabama, talking to a convention of, I don't know, maybe hunters or something. Like, you're never going to see that. And that's because she doesn't even want to take a tough question from people who might even be favorable to her. So I think the question that still needs to be answered is why, if the media is so obsessed with Kamala Harris being a black woman, then why didn't she attend yesterday's convention at the National Association of Black Journalists, where 3 black female journalists were on stage, one of them masquerading as a commentator, I might add. She's no journalist. That was a commentator. There's a distinction. But why was it Kamala Harris on that stage? Why was it Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris who was on that stage? Of course, we know the answer to that. And the answer is that Kamala Harris doesn't want to take tough questions. And she has a liberal mainstream media that allows her to avoid having to take tough questions and face the voters and face reality.
Well, Donald Trump has refused to go on MSNBC for I don't know how many years now. I understand he did a town hall, but I think you could make the case on the other side as well. But I can't answer for the Harris campaign. I don't know what her schedule was. Here's what I do know. She's agreed to debate Donald Trump on September 10th. And I haven't heard that same agreement from the other side. So if you want to talk about people dodging other people, why won't, hold on, let me just finish now. Let me just finish now, and you have the floor with due respect. Donald Trump has not said, I will debate Kamala Harris on a debate stage September 10th. So while we can go back and forth on whether Harris should have been there, hey, I would have liked to have seen Harris there. I'll be honest with you. I would have liked to have seen her on that stage with Donald Trump. 150% I would have liked to have seen that. But it doesn't change my original question. When you say the liberal media is obsessed with color, why is Donald Trump saying that she turned black? Why are people on the far right, including Donald Trump, defending people saying she is a DEI hire? I don't hear Democrats saying she was a DEI hire. Why is Donald Trump defending that?
Well, let's not true. So yesterday you watched on stage, President Trump simply asked, after he got that nasty line of questioning. I couldn't even call that a question. I mean, you look at the first question President Trump was asked on that stage yesterday. That wasn't a question. That was a statement. That was a statement full of talking points that was loaded with bias.
Those were his statements. Those were his quotes. Those were his quotes.
You know, it's an interesting thing because I noticed that people in media are going to view this a lot differently than the American people. The American people watched that line of questioning yesterday and watched the bias, and they watched President Trump respond by simply asking, can you define DEI?
And she
did.
Can you
define it for me?
She did.
And she didn't. No, she refused to give a definition. She did not define it. She said diversity, equity. Yeah. No. She said diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right. That's not what President Trump was asking. President Trump was asking her to define those 3 terms. And that's a question the American people have. The American people often get DEI this and DEI that. They have it at their places of work. They have it at their schools. And this is where, again, the liberal mainstream media is so out of touch with where the regular American is at. The regular American doesn't feel like somebody's been able to offer an adequate definition of DEI either. But President Trump spoke yesterday. The other thing that's getting overshadowed here is, again, you can say all you want, but there was one candidate that was on that stage yesterday. And President Trump did acknowledge at his rally later on that day in Pennsylvania that he would be happy to debate. Well, because you just said that he didn't say it, though. You said that he didn't. And
he was asked, was she hired because she was black? That was the next question, which is a very simple one. And Donald Trump couldn't answer the question. He said he didn't know and he couldn't give an answer. She was hired. Yes, she's black and she's a woman, but she was hired for her qualifications, not just because of the color of her skin. And I think that's very offensive that he couldn't answer that question. But let me ask you another one. He said he was the best president since Abraham Lincoln. Do you stand by that, even though Harry Truman in 1948 desegregated the U.S. military? In 1957, Dwight Eisenhower sent troops to Arkansas so black students could go to school without being physically assaulted. In 1964 and 1965, Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And Trump wants to tell us that he's done more for black people than any of those presidents?
Well, I'm glad you bring up Kamala Harris's qualifications because I do want to talk about what those are and what those aren't.
Okay, that's fine, but can you answer that? Can you answer that?
Well, I want to answer that question first. I'll answer that, but I want to answer this question first, and then I'll answer your second question.
Fair enough.
I want to bring up, like you said, Kamala Harris, because it's important, right? You just told me it's important to talk about Kamala Harris's qualifications.
Sure.
She got the job because she's qualified. So let's talk about what those are.
Sure.
Because as she is likely to be the Democrat nominee and running for president of the United States, Kamala Harris is the border czar appointed by the Biden administration that the liberal mainstream media now claims never happened. Of course, that was a title that the mainstream media literally gave her 3 years ago. It was all too gleeful. You can look at Axios' own words hailing her as the border czar. She was tasked with solving the causes of the root migration issues of people coming up to the southern border. You can word splice that and wordsmith that any way you want. That is a border czar. She's the border czar. Her qualifications are she's the border czar who has allowed upwards of 10 million illegal immigrants, 30 tons of fentanyl, 360 names off the terror watch list to come across our border. Her one task as border czar was to secure the border. She couldn't do that because she didn't want to do that. So she has failed at that job. Let me tell you this. You want to talk about qualifications. If any of your listeners were tasked with being border czar and that was their record, they'd be fired. They would be fired. You are not qualified to lead on anything. One person coming across our southern border is too many. 30 tons of fentanyl? 30 tons of fentanyl is enough fentanyl to kill every American citizen multiple times over. You know the leading cause of death in this country of ages 18 to 35? Take a guess. It's fentanyl. She's allowed 30 tons of it to come across the southern border.
I understand.
So if we want to talk about qualifications, those are Kamala Harris's qualifications.
Those are policy
and
disagreements. Those aren't qualifications.
Those are not. How is that not? I think
those are policy disagreements.
A border czar,
which a lot of people would say is not a fair characterization that she was not the border czar, but go ahead.
It sounds like you've been reading Axios, trying to rewrite history for Kamala Harris.
I don't
but
read
everybody knows the truth.
I've never read Axios. I've never read Axios in my life. I'm my own person, and I'm not the liberal media. But again, go ahead.
Her qualifications. So if your job description is border czar, which is exactly what Kamala Harris was tasked with,
which is
the task of that job is to secure. That is true. You can look it up. The task of that job is to secure the border. Your
I get it.
Qualifications
you don't like what she's.
You allow.
I get it, Caroline. You
10
don't.
million illegal immigrants. That's not the definition of securing the border.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. And those qualifications will be out on the ballot. Most
Caroline,
certainly.
I'm not here to defend her record on the border. I'm not here
I'm just speaking to her qualifications.
I understand, but when I say qualification, I'm talking about the color of skin. And when people call her a DEI hire, that's what I meant. We can talk about the border all day, and I'm with you. It is a problem, and Republicans and Democrats need to come together and fix it. I'm with you on that. I'm not defending her record on the border. All I'm simply saying is when you say she was a black hire or a DEI hire, this is a college-educated woman.
I did not say any of those things.
If she wasn't,
I didn't say any of those things. You asked me about Kamala Harris's qualifications, and I spoke to those. And those qualifications, as you mentioned, are on the border. I did not say any of those things.
Understood. I'm not saying you said it, Caroline. I understand that. But with that being said, if she's not a qualified person, then why did Donald Trump once donate to her campaign? Why would he donate to someone that you don't think is a qualified person?
Well, actually, President Trump addressed this back in 2016 when he first ran. You know, part of the reason that the liberal mainstream media has such animus towards President Trump, and has since he came down the escalator in 2015, is they view him as a defector to the system. President Trump is a highly successful businessman, self-made billionaire from Manhattan. He's not supposed to want to fight for the working class people of this country. He's not supposed to want a secure border. He's not supposed to want to stop war and bring peace to the world. He is viewed as he's addressed this back in 2016 when he said he used to write checks to all kinds of people. You know why? Because they would come to him begging him for money, just like they all go to everybody and beg people for money. I'm so glad you brought this up because Kamala Harris is no different than any of the career politicians that she's worked for.
Can I ask you a question on that?
For the last 50 years.
Can I ask?
Yeah. Hold on. She's had a long political career of asking many, many people for checks. And that's the problem in this country.
I agree.
And that's what people love about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump wrote the checks. He didn't ask for the checks. There's a huge difference. And as he said, people used to come begging him for money all the time. He gets it. He's seen it from the inside out. And that's why he works so hard to
I don't know.
To change the establishment system that we have in this country that doesn't benefit working class people.
If you're just joining us, by the way, Caroline Sunshine, nice enough to join us, the Donald Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director. All right. So I don't know if there's any evidence out there to prove that Kamala Harris, quote, begged Donald Trump for money. All I know is he donated to her campaign. But I will say this, since we're on that topic, what would you consider a former president that sells Bibles? What would you consider a former president that sells gold sneakers that are worth about $10 to make for $400 a pop? He's selling Bibles. So you don't think that's begging people for money? What would you call that, Caroline?
I would call that capitalism. I would call that an exchange of goods and services. I would call that, that is quite literally an exchange where actually, I'm so glad you bring that up. So many people have wanted to buy these sneakers, buy these Bibles. I mean, President Trump has a successful businessman. People, and he's been a successful businessman for a long time. And actually, it's why we see so many young men, especially under the age of 30, moving their vote to President Trump because they see him as this aspirational figure, which he very much is. You know how hard it is to make money in this country nowadays? You know how hard it is to start a business in this country?
So you're supporting making money off of the Bible. You're
and
supporting that. The campaign supports selling Bibles and making money off a Bible, where just about anybody in this country could get a Bible for free, but he's selling Bibles that cost about $3 to make for $60, and you're supporting that?
Is there any law in this country?
I didn't say he was breaking the law. Is there any law for Kamala? I didn't say he was breaking the law. I never said that. I never said that. You're just complaining because you just made the case.
I didn't say that. I just asked the question.
Absolutely
I didn't
not.
Complain, and I didn't say that. I just
absolutely
asked
not. I would never say it's against the law. Absolutely not. But you're talking about begging people for money, and I think somebody that's asking for $60 to buy a Bible that's worth $4 is begging people for money. But let's go back to the question.
That's not the definition of that. There's a huge difference between. I think what you're trying to equate is capitalism of a highly successful businessman, where capitalism is the exchange of goods and services, and a politician who literally will promise, people X, Y, and Z and then ask for money. Those are not the same things. One of them is capitalism. One of them is the problem with the political system in the United States. Those are not the same things.
Let's go back to when Donald Trump was president.
Got
you. When he was a politician, he said he wanted to fight election integrity. He received over $300 million in donations. Out of that $300 million, when he actually was a politician and he promised to do certain things, election integrity, he spent $5 million of that $300 million. And the rest of that money, most of it was put in his back pocket. So what would you say to that then, if we're talking about politicians asking people for money? He received over $300 million, claiming he was going to use it all to fight election integrity. He used just under $5 million to do so. So how would you defend that?
Well, I think that's fake news. I'm glad you bring up election integrity, because as President Trump has said, if we don't have safe and secure elections, we don't have a country. And so I know your listeners come from all different sides of the political spectrum. Some of them might be first-time voters to President Trump. Some of them, this might be their first election. President Trump has said we have to win, and we have to win big. And again, if we don't have safe and secure elections, we don't have a country. So I would love to encourage your listeners, if you're so inclined, you can visit our website, which is swampthevoteusa.com. If you've never registered to vote before, or you don't know how to vote, or you don't know where to vote, if you visit that website, we have all of the resources in one place so that we can make sure your ballot is secure and that your voice is heard.
If I may,
this is a really important election.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It is a very important election, and I appreciate you answering these questions. I do want to ask you one question about election integrity since you brought it up. This is a question I've always wanted to ask you guys. Back in 2016 and 2015, Trump said the election was going to be stolen. It was going to be rigged. Hillary was going to cheat. The Democrats were going to cheat. And then something happened. Donald Trump won. And as I've said since that day, he won a free and fair election. Hillary lost. She made a lot of campaign, mistakes, and there's probably a lot of other reasons, right? And Trump won, right? I'm sure you would agree with that. And then all the election integrity conversations went away for the next 3 years. The election wasn't rigged. Donald Trump won. And then those conversations happened again right before the 2020 elections, months before. And then he lost, and then all of a sudden the election was rigged. So why is it when he wins in 2016 and says it was going to be rigged, which it wasn't, everything is just fine and dandy, but then when Donald Trump loses, it must have been rigged? Why is that?
Well, I'm glad you bring up Hillary Clinton, because talk about somebody who is obsessed with elections not being rigged in her favor. It's really the Democrat Party that is so obsessed with this, just like they're obsessed with race and gender and anything that divides, this country along lines. Like, President Trump's running to be a president for all Americans. It's actually why you saw him go attend the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists. He wants to speak to every
He's the one who
American
hasn't
in every
conceded.
corner.
He hasn't conceded the
corner of
2000.
country.
He hasn't conceded the
Yeah,
2020
it's
election.
Democrats. It's the Democrats that haven't done that, that are so
Not
obsessed
true.
with that. Hillary
Not true.
Clinton, you know?
She conceded the next day.
Yeah,
Not true.
I think you should fact
She
check
called
that.
Donald Trump. No, it does need to be fact checked
I
because
think
it's been.
it's the Democrats
She
in this
conceded.
country that are so obsessed with this, and then they project it back onto Republicans. But you can ask the average voter if you look at the election interference that does happen in this country, mainly at the hands of the liberal mainstream media. You know, has anybody? Let me ask you this, and here's another tough question that Kamala Harris isn't going to face.
Sure, I'll answer anything. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Why is it that nobody has been held accountable for the fact that during the 2020 election, over 50 U.S. intelligence officials signed a letter saying the laptop from hell was Russian disinformation. Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. We have over 50 U.S. intelligence officials. One of them happens to be Dana Bash's husband on the record saying this is Russian disinformation. The New York Post
sure. I'll
had to be
respond.
Censored.
I'll respond to that.
Censored on social media, not allowed to share that story. You had big tech coming in to censor that story.
I'll answer.
Saying it was Russian disinformation.
Sure.
No, but here's the real question. Why hasn't Kamala Harris or Joe Biden been held accountable for that? Both of them were involved in perpetrating that lie.
There's no
that is
evidence.
A lie to the American people.
Okay, so first of all, there's no evidence that has been proven in a courtroom that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was hiding anything involved to the laptop. That's number one. You haven't seen the laptop. I haven't seen the laptop. We do know it exists.
The laptop was just entered into court.
I understand
as
that.
evidence
I understand
during
that.
Hunter Biden's
And number
trial.
three, there
It was
were
very real.
and
Not
number
Russian
three,
disinformation.
there were a ton of people out there saying he was sexually assaulting young Chinese boys, and there were a lot of things that people floated around there that were not true. So, but I'm not sure what that has to do with Donald Trump still lying and saying that the election was stolen. So now I want to ask you a question: Who won the
election interference? That's blatant election interference. It is to have a liberal mainstream media and a Democrat Party working overtime to censor information from the American people the month before an election.
And what's in the Biden laptop? And what's been proven in the Biden laptop?
I don't know. I'm not Hunter Biden. Thank goodness.
Okay, so you don't know what's in his laptop. I don't know what's in his laptop.
But I know that it's not Russian disinformation, and I know that the liberal mainstream media, Joe Biden and the Democrats, for years, just like they also lied to the American people, telling them Joe Biden was fine, he's doing cartwheels, he's sharp as a
we're
tack.
both not doctors,
at least going back to, you don't have to be a doctor to see that Joe Biden was in such a state of cognitive decline. You just have to have eyeballs and ears.
Yeah, I do have eyeballs, and I think the last couple months.
You have to be honest, which is what Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party and liberal mainstream media are not, which is why they're about to, I think, get trounced pretty heavily by President Trump.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. But there is one question that you didn't answer, if that's okay, and then we'll let you go. And I appreciate your time, Caroline, very much so. It's a good conversation. The question that Donald Trump said he's been the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. I rolled off a bunch of things that presidents have done over the years, like desegregating the U.S. military. Harry Truman did that. Sending troops to Arkansas so black students could go to school. Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. I think most people and historians would say those things that some of those prior presidents have done have helped black people far more than anything Donald Trump has done. Do you think Donald Trump is the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln?
Oh, well, thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about all the great things that President Trump did on behalf of African Americans when he was in office. He created an economy where, my goodness, we saw the lowest levels of unemployment for Black Americans, opportunity zones. That was historic legislation. The First Step Act. Kamala Harris spent her career as a prosecutor in California locking up black men. President Trump came in, First Step Act, worked across the aisle, bipartisan, first of its kind legislation to right some of those wrongs. So I think, you look at let's talk about the African Americans in our country today and how they're feeling about an economy under Kamala Harris, under Joe Biden, that isn't working for them. An economy where, just like I said, it's always the media that wants to divide Americans along the lines of race or gender. But here's the reality. The reality is that when Americans go to get gas right now and it's $4 to $5 a gallon, it's that whether they're black, white, or brown. When they go to the grocery store and they buy 3 items at Target or Walmart or Costco and they look and go, why did that cost me $100? That happens whether they are black, white, or brown. The media, the Democrat Party love to push identity politics. It's poison for our country. But President Trump has said he's going to be a president, like I said, for all Americans. I think Black Americans are looking to that future and looking about how do I get more money in my pocket. They're looking and remembering the Trump economy, where it was an economy that lifted all tides, and that is very much in the legacy of all of those great presidents who you mentioned came before. But I think President Trump does have a historic record, certainly in the modern era too, much different than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who love to pander to the African American community and the Black community, but then don't seem to have any interest in really addressing their problems. And we know this because if they did, Kamala Harris would have showed up yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists. But as we know, she was busy. She had scheduling conflict at the White House.
I mean, if you want to talk about pandering, and maybe this could be another discussion, when Donald Trump goes to a so-called black church and 90 people in the church are white, I would say that's pandering. I would say holding up a Bible upside down in front of a church when the people in the church didn't even want him in the church, and holding up a Bible upside down when he's never made a phrase or memorized a phrase in anything in the Bible. Yes, yet he says the Bible is his favorite book. I think those are perfect examples of pandering. Last question for you, and I think this is also a very important one. In The Art of the Deal, I don't know if you read that book, Caroline. I did, actually. And in that book, Donald Trump identifies as Swedish. We've learned now that his father is German. His mother is Scottish. Donald Trump is 0% Swedish. So what a lot of people want, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but what a lot of people on the right, including Donald Trump, want to do is question how black Kamala Harris is. Why would Donald Trump lie in his book and say he's Swedish when he's not Swedish at all?
Well, I'm not familiar with that passage. You'd have to put it in front of me. But I would say that President Trump is proud to be American, and he wants to fight for this country and be a president for all Americans. And that's what this election is about. You know, you have Kamala Harris and the Democrats who believe in tearing down statues. How'd that go, by the way? All of those statues that Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party were all keen to tear down, how did that go? Did that help Black Americans have more money in their pockets? Did that help Black unemployment? I don't remember tearing down statues as being an effective means of having an economy that raises all ships and rising tides. So President Trump's proud to be American, and he wants to make this country great again, and that's what we're here to do. And gosh, if not him, then who? But you're fun to talk to, but sometimes I do think you watch too much, maybe CNN and MSDNC. I'm not sure.
Well, I can only tell you this, Caroline. First of all, I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation. I'll answer your question, and I'll answer it in the most honest way I can because I'm a pretty honest person. I'll put on Fox News. I'll put on CNN. I've watched maybe 5 minutes of MSNBC in 10 years. Or I don't know what else you labeled there or mentioned. I'm my own person. I'm a registered independent. And I make my own decisions, and I'll listen to both sides. And that's what I try to do on this show, even though we have some disagreements. I want people to hear your side. I want to hear us have a good, respectful conversation, which I believe we've had, and then let people decide, right, Caroline? I think that's the best way to go about this, right?
That's great. And that's what we want for our country. You know, that's exactly what we want for our country. And I think that's what we're going to get under President Trump. I really believe that. I think you look at the First Amendment, it's first for a reason. And people have to be free to express their thoughts in this country. You've done that. I've done that. And I'm really confident that the American people, despite what I think is tremendous liberal mainstream media bias that just distorts this country, people that want to divide this country, it's a pleasure to come on your show and to talk to you, and I agree. And let's make America great again November 5th. We'll see you at the ballot box.
Well, I hope we'll do this again down the road.
If it's a vote for free speech, then I know who you have to vote for.
Well, I don't feel like any politician's taken away my free speech, but thank goodness. But I don't think either candidate wants to take away anybody's free speech. But maybe that could be another conversation for another show. But Caroline, another
topic for another time.
Absolutely. But Caroline, I do appreciate you making the case. You're always welcome back anytime. Good conversation, and I appreciate your time, Caroline. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, there you go. Thank you. Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director Caroline Sunshine. We got into it a little bit, and now we're going to hear from the other side. In an extent of what we're talking about, the former NAACP president out of Las Vegas, Roxanne McCoy, is going to be joining us in studio next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
Workers have been hit hard over the past few years. From the pandemic to inflation, it has often felt like we can't get ahead. Too many of us are struggling to afford rent, food, and other basic necessities. We need leaders who know that our country depends on us, the workers. If we succeed, everyone else succeeds. Our choice is clear this November. We must elect leaders who support our crucial role in this country. And that is not Donald Trump. Paid for by Battleborn Progress.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Time now for the most listened to talk show in Vegas. Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between. It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I hate everything about this Brian Shapiro guy.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, welcome back. It's Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had Caroline Sunshine, the Trump 2004 Deputy Communications Director. We're going to be taking some phone calls, reaction to that interview. It got a little feisty there. 702-221-7283. Again, the number 702-221-7283. Now's the time if you want to be a part of the show. This portion of the program is brought to you by Battle-Born Progress. Education is a fundamental right in this country, and Donald Trump endorses school choice, another voucher scheme. We need leaders who understand public money needing to stay in our public schools. We need leaders to know that this country depends on us, the workers. To learn more about Battle-Born Progress, check out their website, battlebornprogress.org. That's battlebornprogress.org. All right, it's been a little while since we had this lovely lady in studio. I'm very lucky to be able to call her a friend. She's done so many wonderful things just for the community here alone. And she is also the former president of the NAACP out of Las Vegas. Of course, I'm talking about Roxanne McCoy, who joins us right now in studio. Roxanne, it's great to see you. How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
I am doing well, Brian. I've missed you. It's good to be back here again.
I'm glad somebody does. Thank you so much for being here. Before I get into the comments that Trump made yesterday with you, and I want to get your thoughts on that, you were just outside listening to my interview with Caroline Sunshine, the Trump 2024 Deputy Communications Director. She said a lot of things in that interview that I'm sure you disagree with. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to cut that really, really short because she said very little actually in that interview period, let alone anything that I might disagree with. I thought that she brought very little content to the conversation whatsoever, except deflection, gaslighting, things like that. But anything tangible?
I don't understand this, Roxanne. She says that it's the Democrats that are obsessed over race and gender, when all I hear from the right is talking about their obsession with transgenders and banning books and gender-neutral bathrooms and transgender surgery. And it was Donald Trump yesterday who was talking about Kamala Harris and her lack of being black, or turned black is the word he used. She's saying that Democrats are obsessed with this stuff? I don't understand.
No, I think it's just their talking points, and I think it's just conversation that panders to their base. It panders to the people that they want to hear these conversations, because the majority of us that have some intelligence know what the real truth is. And it is, they're obsessed with it, and they are having a problem with a black woman running against him right now.
Do you feel, as I feel, that Donald Trump I think he has an issue with minorities to begin with all the statements he's made in the past, but particularly people who look like you, powerful black women who are educated women. It seems like he sees them as a threat. Do you get that same vibe?
I think that anybody that's not brown-nosing Donald Trump is a threat to him. And I think that we just add icing on the cake for him. So if you're not brown-nosing and sucking up to him, you are a threat to him. So when women are, even if it's a black woman, if she's kissing his behind, she's okay.
I tend to agree with you there.
Remember Omarosa? Remember?
Yes, absolutely.
He loved her for a time.
For a little while, yeah. But she was on CNN yesterday blasting Trump for his statements, rightfully so. But, you show up to the NABJ event. He has to know, unless you're so blatantly ignorant, he has to know that he's going to be challenged on some of the things he said in the past, right? I don't think any question that was asked was out of line.
Agreed.
The first question were actual quotes that he said himself, and notice how he didn't directly answer any of them or didn't want to talk about it. She asked a very poignant question. Why should black people support you when you've said this, when you've said that? Direct quotes that he said. And
he took offense.
Yeah, he takes offense to that. And they're saying, oh, that was really an inappropriate question. No, it wasn't. These are the things that you've said. It's like if I asked Joe Biden, Joe, and he was asked about this, when you said you ain't black if you're not voting for me, he apologized for that. It was, listen, lighthearted, but he apologized for it. But he addressed it. And he said, he didn't make excuses. Boy, that's a terrible question. He apologized. And I don't want to compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump because they're two very different people.
There's no comparison.
Right. But why does he take offense to that? I thought it was a very fair question.
I thought it was a fair question as well. But when he doesn't want to answer the question, then he starts pouting and it's like, it's unfair. You're attacking me. When it's like, no, just answer the question. But again, I'm going to go back to the whole reason as to why he went there. And I'm curious, really, or not so much. I think he went there to pander to his base. There's no way he was going to a conference with black journalists and we're not going to be asked tough questions. There's just no way in this universe that was going to happen. There's too many strong black journalists out there. And for him to go there anyway, knowing what he was walking into,
Yeah.
I think it was fuel to add to his fire for his base to say, you see what those people are, you see how they think, you see how they do, to rile them up to say, you make sure all of you get out there and vote.
Yes, I agree with that. He also, again, was asked about the DEI hire thing, and then was asked after that, do you think she was hired because she's black? He said he didn't know. He couldn't answer that question. He also said he was the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. And I listed some of the presidents in the past, desegregating the U.S. military, for example, sending troops to Arkansas so black students could go to school.
Right.
Dwight Eisenhower did that. Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. You couldn't name anything that Donald Trump did that's more important than that.
Yeah, well, nothing that was positive anyway.
Right.
Because if we want to talk about the things that he's done for blacks, remember then the George Floyd riots. What did he do? He sicked the National Guard on black people for peacefully protesting. I mean, we could go on and on and on about the things he's done.
And I'm glad you brought that up.
Because those are the things that he's done.
And I'm glad you brought up protesters, because that's another thing that came up yesterday when he was asked, and he should be asked. You've said that these people on January 6th, some of whom are in jail, you've labeled all of them as hostages and patriots. And she asked him specifically, what about the officers that were assaulted by some of those insurrectionists or whatever you want to call them? And again, he doubled down, and he wouldn't even call out the basic violent acts to police officers. What did you make of that?
I thought that it was typical DT, honestly. I thought it was typical of him. And also, when he had the opportunity to say, no, that was wrong, no, he's still pandering to his base saying, I'm with you guys, and you guys did the right thing on that day. And if I get elected, I am going to let you out. He wasn't going to answer that and say, no. I mean, what could he say other than deflect that whole conversation? I mean, what's he going to say? It's like, I mean, yeah, they shouldn't have went that far. And yes, I support police officers in one breath, but it was okay that those officers got hurt because they were trying to do their jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't go together.
It just went on and on yesterday, and then J.D. Vance doubled down. I want to ask you quickly a couple questions about J.D. Vance before we take some calls. People, sit tight. I think we have one phone line open at 702-221-7283. In just the last several weeks, J.D. Vance has attacked women. The cat lady comment, by the way, that was years ago, but he's doubling down on that comment. So I say he's also,
he feels the same way.
Right. He's also said this is very strange that if you don't have kids, you shouldn't have as much of a voice, or even people should be taxed more if they don't have kids. There are brave men and women who served in the military that can't have kids. There are women that can't have kids. And so they're attacking women. They're attacking everybody in this country that either chooses not to have kids or can't have kids. Donald Trump clearly is attacking black people, as he did yesterday, and attacking Kamala Harris for being black or lack thereof. It's almost like they're trying to lose. What do you make of J.D. Vance and the pick and what he said over the course of the last several weeks?
Again, I think that it was a perfect pick for him. They're a perfect fit for each other, honestly. And so maybe not to win the election, but it's a perfect fit for him because you have, frick and frack. They kind of go together. And JD is just
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber. That's exactly what they are. It's frick and frack, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. And JD, it's just sad that we live in the United States of America. Yeah. And this is how we are viewing each other, and we're supposed to be treating each other as human beings.
It's sad.
But we're demeaning each other. Yeah. We're demeaning people, and you don't know what their reasons are for not having children. And they don't have to have a reason if that is their choice. Yeah. Because this is what we get to do. We have choices in America, right? But to demean me and say I should have less rights and privileges when you get to utilize your white privilege every day in order to advance yourself, it's just a little hypocritical. But then that's the way our country
And as I
going.
mentioned quickly in the interview I did last segment, I said, well, if that's the case and she's not qualified, by the way, she's not the border czar. That's a lie, and that's a right-wing talking point. But if that's the case and she's so unqualified, then why did Trump donate over $6,000 to her campaign?
Correct. But one even better, Brian, is that they want to keep calling her the border czar. But when bills were produced to be able to fix the border, he told them not to approve them.
Exactly.
And they were good things that would have helped the border solution, the border problem. It would have been a solution to it.
Yeah.
But he told his cronies, do not vote for that, because he wants to turn around and he thought he'd run against Joe and he'd win and then he'd adopt it and take credit for it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
And so
100%.
how can you fix something when I'm trying to fix it, but you tell your minions, no, don't do that. We don't want to fix it right now.
And I wanted to bring that up with Caroline, but my head was spinning with so many other things that I wanted to bring up. But if you're just joining us, she is Roxanne McCoy, and she is the former president of the NAACP out of Las Vegas. And now we'll take some phone calls, Roxanne. Let's see what the people think out there. 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Curtis. Curtis is first up on PTL. Hi, Curtis.
Ryan, I have...
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Where are you calling from, Curtis?
Mesa, Arizona.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Curtis. What's on your mind?
So there's a few things. So about the Kamala Harris thing, about not being at the NABJ yesterday. For the people that don't know, she actually had a prior obligation because Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee passed away, and she actually was a speaker today at her funeral. So she was there for her friend. So it wasn't a dereliction of duty as some are claiming it was. Second, people are continuously, Trump particularly, saying that he did more for black people, but I would beg to argue that Ulysses S. Grant created the Department of Justice and pushed for the prosecution of the KKK to protect black people. FDR Department of Justice pushed for poll tax repeal for voting, to make voting more fair. Harry Truman desegregated the military.
Correct.
And as you said, LBJ passed the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act.
Correct.
So Trump never did more for black people. Yes, some people may not know.
All I can do, Curtis, is, and you're absolutely right, all I can do, Curtis, when I have somebody like that on is try to speak the truth and try to do my homework, because I knew what her talking points would be, and I try to support it with facts. The fact that Donald Trump donated to Kamala's campaign, the fact that where they talk about the birth certificate, California during the 1960s did not specify a child's race, but they don't want to talk about that. I tried to also dig in a little bit into Kamala Harris and her past as her father being black. And yet she wants to say that the Democrats are obsessing about color when it's Donald Trump himself who's questioning the color of her skin. I mean, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And to your point, though, Curtis,
and that she just became black out of nowhere.
Yeah.
As by through a magic wand, she turned black.
Yeah, I just became pasty white. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
that's what it is. Yeah.
And she went to HBCU.
Yeah.
She pledged AKA.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just checked.
And that was another point. I was like, apparently she sees herself as black going to a historically black college or university.
Yeah, and don't forget about the sorority she was a part of as well, predominantly black.
She's part of AKA.
Yeah, very, very good points.
Sorority and even my family.
Very good points, Curtis. Very good phone call.
You know
Thank
what
you.
else, Curtis? I just want to say really quickly is that she had other obligations, but she was working with the Black Journalists Conference to try to get herself there. They told her it was okay, don't worry about it. And then when they came back around to ask her again, she had already filled up her calendar. So there was no way that she could change it at the 11th hour. So that was a fail on the journalist portion, not Kamala's portion.
Right. I agree with that 100%. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Janelle. Janelle is next up on PTL. Hi, Janelle. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Burlington, North Carolina, and I'm a proud childless cat lady. And happily married, I will say.
Good for you.
But I've never heard someone say so much but say so little in that previous lady you were speaking to. What a word salad. I don't blame you. My head was spinning, too. I'm like, oh, my God. And
you know, Janelle, when he asked me what I thought about her conversation, I said, what conversation? She brought nothing to the party whatsoever.
Well, she's repeating the talking points like a good little soldier.
Which is still saying nothing.
Well, all I can say is this. I tried to call out Donald Trump's comments yesterday the best I could with facts on Kamala Harris's background and where she grew up and the fact that, yes, her father is a black man from Jamaica. I tried to point out all the things that presidents have done in the past for black people. And then when she tries to make the claim that Kamala Harris begs Donald Trump for money, I brought up facts. He sells Bibles, and he sells gold sneakers, and she talks about pandering. I also brought up the fact that Trump shows up to a quote unquote black church, and yet 90% of the people that were in that church, they weren't black. So she, I brought that up and I tried to, do the best I could with her, but of course she's going to go with her talking points,
Well, and here's the other thing, too. Where does this narrative come from that he's self-made? He's from
not.
generational wealth.
That's
correct.
Exactly right.
And
Yep.
and he was basically handed the keys to a Mercedes and told not to crash it, and he still managed to crash it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Like,
you're right.
It boggles my mind.
But I am going to keep having these Trump surrogates on. I am going to continue to battle them, unlike so many of these other radio stations that have these surrogates on, and just, if they say something that I believe is a lie, I'm going to call it out. And let's be honest here. Indefensible what Donald Trump did yesterday on that stage in Chicago. Indefensible. So I was ready to go, and I had my facts ready to go, and indefensible. Anyway, let's go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was entertained with my popcorn. Like, this is really entertaining.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that they're willing to come on and even have the conversation. I do appreciate that. That's why I'm no name calling. I'm not attacking. I'm just going to go after them with facts. That's what I try to do. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tracy. Tracy is next up on PTL. Hi, Tracy. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Colorado. Hi, Brian. Hi, Roxanne. How are you?
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. So I was screaming at the TV last night when Trump said she's all of a sudden black, and I was screaming at my computer today listening to Caroline Sunshine. So to add on to what Roxanne and Curtis said, Kamala Harris was in Houston, Texas after the funeral yesterday at the Sigma Gamma Rho 60th biannual convention in Houston. Oh, wait, what is Sigma Gamma Rho? One of the Divine Nine. I would just like to point that out.
And I have to apologize. I am going to own this and apologize to my listeners and say I was unaware of that. And if I was, I would have brought it up. All I could say is I would love to see Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on a stage together. It's Donald Trump that doesn't want to see that. You're telling me Kamala didn't want to be there? Of course, in front of a bunch of people.
She wanted to be there.
Of course she did. Yeah. It would have been great. But I'm glad that my smart listeners have brought that up, because I am going to tweet that out, and I am going to take that clip. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I'm scheming it in my mind right now. I'm going to take that clip of Caroline Sunshine criticizing Kamala Harris of not being there yesterday, and then I'm just going to do a little fact check up top, thanks to my listeners. So thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome. I just had to point that out because people were talking about it for weeks on how she couldn't be at the NABJ because she was going to be at the Sigma Gamma Rho event. And then also you were talking about the pandering thing. I had to touch on this. I knew you have so many other callers, Brian. But who is begging big gas and big oil? Donate $1 billion and I'll be at your beck and call. Donate it to my campaign. It's Trump.
Yeah,
who is going after Peter Thiel with passion, but Peter Thiel is ignoring him, and it's driving him nuts.
And look at all the Republicans that pandered to the NRA. I have an A+ rating from the NRA. We don't care if our kids get shot up in our schools. Get that AR-15 and buy thousands of rounds of ammunition. Yeah, if you want to talk about pandering, it ain't the left that's doing it. It's the right, dear. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great one, you guys.
You as well. Thank you. I love my callers. I really do. 702-221-7283. Maybe it's because I'm not on a conservative radio station where a bunch of right-wing racist buffoons call in every day. That's what I had to deal with for years. Anyway, let's go to Paul.
They don't bother you anymore, Brian?
Occasionally I'm okay with it, but it's not as many. Not as many, because I can only deal with stupid callers once in a while.
Yes,
like
they send your blood pressure into orbit.
Maybe 1 out of 5. Like I can deal with 1 out of 5, but the overwhelming majority of my listeners are very intelligent people.
I like
and
that.
Sometimes they even educate me, which I appreciate. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
Hey, I wasn't going to call in today, but you have Rhonda there from the NAACP. And I want to ask you a question if I could.
Roxanne. Yep. Go ahead.
My apologies, Roxanne.
It's okay.
What I think we're at, and maybe I'm a white dude, this is an inflection point. I feel like what's happening, and maybe you can correct me, the male patriarchy in this country has been old white guys running this country since the Native Americans, the black people, Hawaiians, and we've pretty much done it whatever the hell we wanted. And I feel like that segment of this population is the MAGA base that doesn't want to progress as a society, and they keep saying they want to make America great again when, black people couldn't drink in the same water fountain or sit on the same bus or sit in the same church. And it feels like they want to live in 1776 with the Second Amendment. Am I completely reading this wrong, or am I close here?
You are absolutely right on point. That's exactly what they want to do, is keep America white again. The white man is dwindling. There are more biracial kids. There are more mixed marriages. They're becoming the minority, and they're fighting for that right to stay the majority and stay in control of everybody else, and they're losing. And they're panicking. And that's when they're saying, make it great again. They're saying, let's keep it white. Let's take it back to where it was and let all the minorities stay in their place and we reign over them. But those days are over and they're not coming back.
Yeah. You know what? I agree 100%. What I've loved to see in the last couple of weeks, and I didn't start TikTok until this kind of happened in Christian nationalism. I'm loving seeing the people, like the black brothers and sisters that are out there. They're so excited to see people that look like me that are standing with them. Because for so many years, like with Martin Luther King, with John Lewis, it was the black people fighting for black people's rights, or it was the women standing for women's rights. And it's like, it feels like it's about damn time that everybody, it's not a black or woman issue, it's an American issue. And I feel like we're to the point this year feels like we're going to make history and we're finally going to make it an American problem.
Paul, white people for Kamala, they raised, as you know, $4 million, I think.
Yes.
Dude, I was on the call, dude. I donated $4 million. We had 190,000 people on there.
I love it. And guess who took it down? What a shocker. The right-wing radical racist himself, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's so much for freedom of speech because it only pertains to these idiots when they agree with it. But God forbid somebody on X starts white people for Kamala Harris, and that's offensive to Elon Musk. But yet people on Twitter could call other people the N-word, and he's okay with that. He won't take that down. That's who Elon Musk is. He is Donald Trump 2.0, ladies and gentlemen. He just maybe is not as abrasive as Donald Trump, but just look at the way he treats his own transgender daughter, and that's all you need to know about Elon Musk. But, Paul, thank you for the call, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you. White people for Kamala Harris. I love it. 702, I'm one of those people. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Courtney. Courtney is next up on PTL.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Courtney.
I just wanted to correct Paul real quick before I make my statement. There were always white people working with us, though, especially from the Jewish community and the civil rights movement.
You're absolutely correct, Courtney, and I was going to say that as well.
I don't want to not recognize them.
When change started taking place, it was because white people started standing alongside us.
Now, I'm coming from a white perspective here. I agree with both of you, but I do feel like there are more white people now. Maybe there are more people that are coming around and publicly are saying I'm with you, which I think is a good thing. Listen, there are a lot of people out there too, bad people. I would say a good portion of them are Donald Trump supporters that happen to be white. But with that being said, I think there are more people now coming forward and saying, hey, we're with Kamala. I think that's a wonderful thing. But you're right. There are white people in our history that have stood by people who are black. There's no question about that.
And what I wanted to say about him calling, this is all a distraction, and I get particularly annoyed with black people talking about she's not black enough or she's not black because they're buying into the white supremacist theory of what blackness is, and we need to stop that right now. Secondly, whether she's black, purple, green, we should be looking at her policies. It's not, if she was a white man running against Trump with Project 25 and his fascist agenda for the black community, we should be voting for him. The Kamala race thing is just something that he's trying to use because he knows about the colorism in the black community.
Yeah.
We need to cut that shit out.
By the way, the leader of the creator of the 2025, as you just mentioned, he just fired. So it's unraveling for Donald Trump. There are people around him.
And it's still Agenda 47. I mean, they fired him as a distraction too. He's still, the policy is Agenda 47. It's his agenda. Whether that guy is there or not does not matter. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to say is every single person, we need to, as Democrats, be out here talking about the 70 elected officials that are claiming they are not going to certify the election. We know Kamala's going to win in a landslide. But if they have planted these people that are election deniers that are not going to certify.
I don't know.
I want us to be talking about that, and I also want us to all be checking our voter registration. Every time Kamala speaks, she needs to tell people to check their voter registration because they have thrown millions of people off the rolls.
Okay, so here's what and by the way, thank you so much for the phone call.
Though, for the,
yes, I agree. Thank you but let me just say this. I'm not ready to say Kamala's going to win in a landslide. Will she win the popular vote? Of course. But I can't sit here and say she's going to win in a landslide. I'll say this. Before Joe Biden stepped down, I was after the debate, I'm like, Trump's going to win this thing. After somebody tried to assassinate Donald Trump and he survived, which, by the way, I'm glad he survived. Terrible thing. But after that, I said, this is going to help Donald Trump and propel him to win. I really felt that way. In the last 2 weeks, I've changed my mind after he stepped down and Kamala Harris is now running. I believe she's done a very good job over the course of the last few weeks. And right now, I do think she's going to win. But I can't sit here and say it's going to be a landslide. I still think it's going to be a very close race. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I agree. I don't think it's going to be a landslide either. I think that she is going to win as well because she's definitely rejuvenated the Democratic base as well as the young people.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are going to go out to vote. But I think Courtney made a very good point is that we all have to make sure that our voter registration is intact and we are ready when that day comes because they are going to do everything they can to deny us the opportunity to vote.
Yes, well said. 702-221-7283. Again, that number 702-221-7283. If you want to be a part of the program, we have Roxanne McCoy in studio, the former president of the NAACP out of Las Vegas. Let's go to Damon, who is next up on PTL. Hi, Damon. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? Hi, Roxanne. I missed you.
I'm back.
Okay, I'm so glad. But thing is, Brian, I'm wondering, why was it only women interviewing? Why didn't you have a black man up there, somebody like Roland Martin? I don't know what he was trying to do, like pit himself against a black woman, put that aesthetic in front of you. I don't know what that was, but that's just the thing I'm mentioning.
Yeah.
But thing is, Brian, that last lady, she bad radio. I listened to somebody say nothing twice. Her last interview was just like the second interview. She went every way around answering any of your questions, and it made me go, well, if I'm going to listen to a woman talk about nothing for 10 minutes, I'm going to go listen to my girlfriend. At least I'm going to get something out of it.
Well, Damon, that's funny. Here's what
That
I
is
would
not what we do.
Here's what I would say to that, Damon. Even if she says something without any substance, and even if she's lying, the bottom line is I need to call that out. It's my responsibility and expose some of these people. I understand where you're coming from. And I speak to, listen, I had Larry Elder on the show, and boy, we got into it for 45 minutes, and it was probably more entertaining. But we have to call them out, and I have to call out their talking points. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm always going to give them the opportunity because I want to hear what they have to say. And if, like you said, if they're saying nothing of substance, then I will call them out. And I tried to do the best I could.
Her in particular, Brian. Just her in particular.
Yeah.
Just her. Just don't bring her back. That's all.
Okay, well, I'll take that under consideration. For the record,
nothing like you. I love the buffoons, just like you love the buffoons.
For the record, I was supposed to have the RNC co-chair on the show today. I got a text message from the Trump campaign saying that he became ill and he couldn't do the interview. So this was kind of a last-second thing. And I said I would rather take her from the campaign than nobody. And I'm sure we will get somebody else next time, Damon.
I hope so.
And also, Damon, I wanted to respond to the question as to why there was no black men on there. The head person of the NABJ is a black man, right? And he kind of made those decisions. And it's interesting. He made a lot of bad decisions throughout this whole process of setting up this convention. And so he was in charge of that.
Yep.
Yeah, because wouldn't you love to see Roland Martin attack Trump?
Oh, he's great. I've had Roland on the show.
I don't
he's
think
great.
Trump would have showed up if Roland was one of the
That's the reason that you had Roland Martin on.
Roland Martin is a very intelligent guy. He's a good debater. He's great. James Carville is a white guy, but I would like to see James Carville up there with Donald Trump. He's getting up there in age. But listen, there's a lot of people I'd like to see go at it with Donald Trump. And it's so funny when she says, why is Kamala Harris dodging interviews? When was the last time Donald Trump did an interview with a liberal or MSNBC? Give me a frickin' break. And then they argued about, oh, you're going to have Jake Tapper up there with Dana Bash, and it's going to be an unfair debate. But they never retract or apologize because, if anything, they were favorable to Trump, not Joe Biden on that debate night. Damon, thanks for the phone call, my man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Damon.
Thank you. Thank you. 702-221-7283. We have one phone line open, 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Nelson Nelson is next up on PTL. Hi, Nelson. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Massachusetts. Hello, Roxanne.
Hi, Nelson.
Good, good. You know, I just want to say a few things. With the whole border thing, you know, her role was just to find out what the root causes of the migration from Central America to the southern border. It was just to find out what's going on, not to be in charge of day-to-day operations. But, you know, and they still don't want to talk about the record number of arrests that happened down there, 7 million and counting. None of that. They don't want to talk about any of that.
Yeah.
But what pisses me off, and this is, and look, I'm Hispanic, but this is what pisses me off. This is birtherism 2.0. I'm going to call it like how I see it.
Yes, it is, and I'm glad you brought. I'm
President Obama had to go through this to prove himself as to who he is, and now she's doing it. She has to go through this, but it's even more extreme. Like, she is the vice president of the United States. She has broken many barriers.
Yes, she has.
She's had 34 years of public service. Hell, he was convicted of 34 felony counts, and this Congress last year only passed 34 bills last year. So I guess number 34 for them.
But you brought up the birther.
Is their favorite number.
You brought up the birther issue. I want to add this because I did a little research on this because Donald Trump on Truth Social put up Kamala Harris's birth certificate today. But what these idiots fail to do is do actual real research. Birth certificates in California during the 1960s often did not specify the child's race. Her mother's listing as Caucasian does not change her identity. But yet the right-wingers will go with this and, oh, look at this, her birth certificate. But yet when Obama showed his birth certificate, they still don't think he was born in this country. You cannot win with these racist buffoons, right-wing idiots. Thank you for the call, my man. Appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Sally. I believe Sally is next on PTL. Hi, Sally. Where are you calling from?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Thank you, Sally.
Hi, Sally.
What's on your mind today?
Just to let you know, I'm the only Democrat in my neighborhood that had a Biden and Kamala Harris sign in my yard, and I was very proud.
Good for you.
They didn't harass you?
I bet you didn't have a Confederate flag next to it, though, did you?
No.
No. What a shocker.
Actually,
Yeah.
my neighbor. No, I didn't have a problem with my neighbors, even though they don't talk to me anyway. So that's
You
that's
probably,
the
it
point.
doesn't sound like you should talk to them, though, either. I wouldn't want to, but go ahead.
No, I don't. Anyway, what I was angry about yesterday is Donald Trump literally said, "Oh, it doesn't matter who my vice president is."
Yeah, he basically said
You're
that.
voting for me.
Can I, Sally?
Are you kidding me?
Sally, let me give a little. I'm
what
glad.
about if they?
I'm glad
What
you.
about if they kill you? Who's going to take over the country? You dumbass.
So, Sally,
Really?
you're right. Let me bring that up, Sally. I'm glad you brought that up, Sally. So, Donald Trump was asked about J.D. Vance, and he said, "Well, I've always respected him, but in the history of this country, it really doesn't matter who you pick as vice president." Wow, what a ringing endorsement for J.D. Vance.
Exactly. I have 5 children, 15 grandchildren, and it doesn't make me no better than anyone that doesn't have children. And another thing, there are women that cannot have children, and there are also men that cannot produce children.
That's true. That's true. That's 100% correct. I would love you, Sally, whoever Kamala Harris picks as her vice president. I want you to put up another sign.
Yes.
And then maybe put up a sign. I don't know if this would, I don't want you to incite violence or anything, but maybe put up a sign that says Trump sucks or Trump's a racist. Yeah. I just think, and then call me back and see if your neighbors start talking to you. I don't want to cause any trouble for you, Sally. You sound like a very nice lady. Anyway, I appreciate you calling.
I will be putting a sign out the day that Biden won. Me and my grandchildren had the windows up. We had it blasting, and we were shooting our guns.
Good for you.
We were so excited.
Sally, I like you. You're my new friend. Sally, thanks for calling in.
Okay.
Sally in Tennessee. I
Thank
like
you.
Sally. Thank you for calling in, Sally. So we have more people on hold. I think we should probably take a break because we've gone. But Amelia, Jason, John, Mark, I'll get to all your calls on the way back. Before I do so, I want to remind all of you, and I think Roxanne knows this, this is kind of like public radio, public television. I'm independent. This show is independent. So I rely on good people like you people like Sally to check out my website. How can you help me? Here's how you can support what I do, obviously, besides listening to the show, which I appreciate very much. Check out my new website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. Sign up for my free newsletter. We sell merchandise on there, very affordable. If you don't want to buy merchandise, no problem. There's also a donate button. Doesn't matter whether it's $5, $10, whatever you can afford. We appreciate it, and it helps us continue to do what we do. And I'm very thankful to some of my sponsors, including the official gaming bar of Las Vegas. What am I talking about? Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Listen to this cool promotion they have now. So you can be sitting at a slot machine with your card in there. If you know, sometimes when somebody hits a jackpot, if you're a selfish person like me, sometimes, you'll get a little upset when somebody hits for like $2 or $4 grand. Damn it. Lucky bastard. A normal, decent person would probably be happy. I'm just kidding. I usually am happy, but there's a little bit of jealousy in there. Well, guess what? There's a new promotion at Jackson's. Anybody who is playing, if one person hits a jackpot, everybody gets $20 in free slot play.
Wow.
That's a cool promotion. By the way, that's 24/7. Anybody hits a jackpot, you're going to get $20 in free slot play. So please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Roxanne, if you could stick around for one more segment, I'd love you to stick around. I appreciate you being here. We got Roxanne McCoy in studio, the former president of the NAACP out of Las Vegas. We'll take some more phone calls on the other side, 702-221-7283. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food. Forget about it.
Education is a fundamental right in the United States. Too many politicians, including Donald Trump, want to give voters a false sense of choice by promoting school choice. This is just another voucher scheme that will divert public money and send it to private schools. By diverting that money, we are hurting our children's education. We need leaders who understand the importance of keeping public money in public schools. Paid for by Battleborn Progress.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit queensfornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. On a, I believe it's a Thursday today, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining us. I just got a donation. Who did I get a donation from? Oh, okay. I was just given a cell phone. I don't know where I'm not supposed to say where I got that donation from. But anyway, welcome back to the show. I appreciate all of you for joining us. And of course, I appreciate Roxanne McCoy being here, the former president of the NAACP out of Las Vegas. We're talking about not only the comments from Caroline Sunshine, Trump spokesperson who came on first segment, but of course, Donald Trump's comments yesterday in Chicago. I will say this, I got an email from someone saying, Brian, you let her walk all over you. She didn't answer any of the questions. First of all, I can't force somebody to answer a question. I can only ask them multiple times. And if they don't want to answer the question, there's nothing I can do about that, Roxanne, right? I mean, I can't force somebody to directly answer a question. For example, I asked her, do you agree with Donald Trump when he said he's the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln? I asked her that multiple times. That's not her walking all over me. That's somebody who is a surrogate, who is used to talking points and will not directly answer questions when challenged. That's not my fault. So at the same time, I'm not going to say you're a buffoon, you're an idiot, you're a bad person, you're this, you're that, because I want those surrogates to come back on, even though some people might not like it. I want to interview people with a different perspective. So that's how radio works. It doesn't mean I can't challenge people. I did challenge her. I challenged her on basically everything she said. Anyway, I'm sure you would agree with that, Roxanne, right?
Yeah, I agree, because I thought that you asked the tough questions, but she just was very evasive because she couldn't answer, or she didn't want to go off script and sound like, the man she's a surrogate for. So
they're also not used to being challenged. A lot of these surrogates will go on Newsmax, NOAN. And when she said, you got your talking points from MSNBC or something, I've literally watched 5 minutes of MSNBC in 10 years. So she was wrong there, and I corrected her there. All right, let's take some more phone calls, Roxanne. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jenny. Jenny is next up on PTL. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Texas. Oh, boy, you got a terrible governor out there. I'm sorry.
Oh, help me, Jesus. Talk about Jesus. I need that Trump Bible.
That's funny.
In Texas, you need the Holy Trinity all at once.
Oh, my.
Yes,
Ted
amen.
Cruz.
Amen, sister.
Ted Cruz looking more like Count Dracula every day of the week. Anyway.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're going for Ted. Let's see what we do with Ted. We're going to go with that football player. Bring him down.
Well, Jenny, what do you got for us
Okay.
today? What's on your mind?
Okay. Melania Trump.
Oh.
I want to see her birth certificate. She came in as a model. No.
Where's that
She
person?
came in as a model on a working visa.
Yeah.
That's what they said. I don't know that.
No, we don't.
You
Yeah.
want Obama's birth certificate? You want Kay Harris' birth certificate? I want the first lady. She was the first lady, and nobody asked her because you remember she went over her visa. She came on a visiting work.
So let me say this.
Mhm.
I understand where you're coming from. And by the way, the last person that I would ever back or defend is Melania Trump. I also think she's a despicable human being. With that being said, I don't want to go there with these people. I think there's plenty of things we could attack Melania on. First of all, I think the biggest curse anybody could have given her is her contractual husband right now. Did you see that awkward hug kiss? I'm speaking to two ladies. Did you see that awkward hug, no kiss after the? She hates him more than I do, and that's hating him a lot.
Stormy Daniels told you she don't sleep in the same bed.
Well, yeah, but wait
yeah,
a second. Donald Trump, according to him, he never had sex with her. He just decided to pay her $130,000.
Yeah,
but he never had sex with her. He never. And by the way, he calls her horse face. He calls every woman a different name in the book.
He don't respect the women.
Yeah, of course.
He don't respect the women.
But how does it they say family?
Yesterday, listen to this. I know I'm interrupted. I'm a New Yorker.
That's okay.
Listen to this. Yesterday he goes on there, three beautiful black women. The moment he got on there and he's talking to her, saying, "Hey, you're nasty, you this and that." You know the first thing she should have said, very nicely, very professional, "You're on my platform, buddy.
Yeah.
You came here, respect me, or you can get out that chair and bye-bye. You came here, you're being disrespectful."
Yeah.
You gotta earn your respect, okay? I'm a woman that was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I had my mom raise 4 girls by herself, and she said, "I can't be around you all the time. I can't be in the schools with you. Do not be a bully, because I will take care of you if you're being the bully, but don't get bullied." And to me, they should have said to him, "You bully everybody. That's enough."
I think they did and thank you, by the way, for the call. I love my New Yorkers. I think a poignant moment. Now, Faulkner, who is the Fox News black anchor, who I don't have a lot of respect for because she just refuses to call out Donald Trump for everything. There was even a moment yesterday where he was attacking one of the black journalists on the stage, and even Faulkner goes, "Oh my goodness." Even she was embarrassed. You heard her on the microphone, but then she goes on Fox News and she starts making excuses. Well, he's just entertaining, and there were people laughing. I mean, what a pathetic excuse for a journalist she is. I thought that was very disappointing. I don't know how you can be a black woman and make excuses for Donald Trump after you saw I don't know if you could be any woman, let alone a black woman. And Faulkner did that on Fox News, Roxanne, yesterday.
Woman. I agree. Any woman.
It was just embarrassing.
But she likes her job, kind of like Tim. What's his name? Tim Scott?
Tim Scott,
You know, they like the attention that they think that lifts them up, I guess, of being associated.
Do you think Tim Scott and Faulkner, do you think they realize how most black people in this country feel about them?
Oh, absolutely. And if they didn't, they've been told several times.
So they know, but they don't care. They don't care. They just continue to do it. Wow. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hi, Jason. Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? Vegas. You know what it is. I always call you.
Thank you, Jason.
So,
good to hear from you.
I'm going to hit you with 5 talking points, and then I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Number 1, respect to the Divine Nine. Rest in peace, Sheila Jackson Lee. And Miss Massey, I'm sorry you called somebody for help and they killed you. That's number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, Trump is playing chess and we're playing checkers. He wasn't getting no publicity for the last 2 weeks. So how did he get in the news? Because they said when you get no publicity, it's bad publicity. Even negative publicity is good publicity. So what did he do? Is go as negative as possible to get publicity. That's number 2. Number 3, when you should have combat that lady, you should have asked her, "What about Donald Trump's nephew?" When he asked, you should just let Fred Jr.'s son die.
Right.
He should have asked that question.
Okay, so hold on, let me stop. Hold on, before you get to number 3. Here's why I didn't ask that question. And it's the same reason why I didn't ask Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he came on a month back about members of his family. We all know who Donald Trump is, right? We all know who he is. There's always going to be some members of families that don't like other members of families. And while I agree with Fred, and I agree with everything he said, and I'm glad he came forward, at the same time, in all of our families, we always have those 1 or 2 people, right? So that's why I didn't ask that. I'm not saying I disagree with Fred, but I just think there's more important things to talk about than, hey, what do you think about that one Trump family member? No, I would rather ask, what do you think about less than 10% of black people in this country voting for you? I think that's more important than what Fred Trump says. Also think Fred Trump's trying to sell a book, and he went on The View. And so all I'm simply saying is this. I'm not saying what Fred Trump is saying is wrong or incorrect. He's probably telling the truth. However, Fred Trump is trying to sell a book and make money. You've taken a lot of money off the Trump family with golf memberships and everything else. Now, all of a sudden, you decide to write a book. Yep. I'm not saying what he is saying is a lie. All I'm saying is his intention is not because he wants to tell people who Donald Trump is. He wants to make money, just like everybody else in the Trump family that put money, I think, before everything else. That's all I'm saying.
But you're forgetting two big things. Number one, he's doing it for people that have disabilities. His son was not right in the head.
Yeah, but okay, all right.
Let me finish.
But he's been doing it, but for years.
But the point, I know, but what I'm saying is there is a fund, and Donald Trump stole all his trust money. He wouldn't even ask for money because he should have been rich from his father, but Trump stole all his money. But let me finish these last 3 points.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 3. I hope and I pray that the Democratic Party is smart enough to realize they better have lawyers at every polling place. They better have poll watchers, and they better get ready for the federal courts and the Supreme Court, because they're going to do everything they can to stop that vote from going through. It might be a tight race, and if it's a tight race, remember, it's only 100,000 to 200,000 votes that will change the election completely. Mm-hmm. And more than anything, and this is the most important part, we got to stop feeding into what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump just want to go negative, so we complain about what he's saying. We got to show we don't care what I understand you want to say something, but tell me what you're going to do for this country. Not one time that since he's been talking, or all his surrogates have said anything about what they're going to do for this country except for tax cuts and pump more gas and oil. So I don't understand when we're trying to make this, because if you've seen the report, they're saying that with Iran, Russia, and China, we are unprepared if there's a world war coming. We are unprepared. We have less money. We have less soldiers. We have less equipment. So we're worried about something so illiterate and stupid as Donald Trump, when the other enemy on the other side of the ocean is trying to think that as long as they keep on fighting each other, we're ready to take them, wipe them out. And that's what we better think about as Americans.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very, very well said, Jason.
All right, I got to go. I got to pick up a patient.
All right.
And I love you, and take care.
Love you too, Jason. Thank you for calling in. Don't talk about oceans, because then Donald Trump will talk about electrocuting sharks. So you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about that. 702-221-7283. Who do we have here? Amelia. I believe we have Amelia next up on PTL. What's up, Amelia? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. Hey, beautiful people out there. I'm calling from Georgia.
Georgia.
I was born and raised in Wisconsin. My dad, okay, I gotta get this out. He's from Elko, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And growing up and so forth, it was all this hatred for Indians, especially. All the racism talk, this and that, whatever else. And I just knew that I wasn't going down that path.
Right.
I joined the military and never looked back.
Right.
I never looked back. And I always wondered about some things, but there was an incident that happened to me when I was in elementary school, and I had a neighbor girl. She was full-blooded Indian, and she was not allowed into our home. That bothered me for many years. And then all of a sudden, here comes Facebook and so forth. But I had concerns, and I, had questions or whatever, because I went overseas in the military, wanted to know where my ancestors came from and so forth, and never could get a straight answer.
Right.
Ever. Neither one of my parents. It wasn't until about 3 years ago, my best friend of 34 years gave me an Ancestry DNA kit for Christmas.
Yep.
And guess what? 26% indigenous.
Wow.
I am.
Wow.
And I'm proud.
That's very cool.
I am so proud, and I just wonder how many other people out there, think about all this.
Sure.
I guarantee you, there's a lot of us out there too.
Absolutely.
You might be surprised if you took, 23andMe or whatever, and so forth.
If you were talking to Donald Trump, he would definitely question that. He would question. He would say you're not 26%. I don't think you're 2%.
Right.
Yeah, that's
my biological father is still in denial.
Yeah. Well,
he's still, still in denial, sir. And I'm just so proud to be a veteran. And
of course,
went to work for the federal government and so forth, retired and everything, and just. I loved everybody, and I love everybody. It's just, that's what Queen always said, and Freddie Mercury always said, hello, beautiful people out there, because he loved everybody too. Didn't matter if you're gay, straight,
well, we need
white,
to get
black,
back to that.
matter.
The problem we have in society today, and I think Roxanne would agree with me on this, is there's always going to be a percentage of people, and I think Donald Trump has sparked more of this, that are going to judge other people based on what you look like or what your religion is. I mean, listen, I had a conversation with a guy. He was like Trump for Jesus or something. Right now, obviously, I don't agree with his beliefs, but I said to him, and I said, listen, I respect your religion. Just don't push what you have on me. We had a very respectful conversation. Listen, he was decked out in all the Trump gear, so I might disagree with him politically. And I don't understand why anybody, quite frankly, that is a religious person would support Donald Trump. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is he didn't push any of his beliefs on me. He said, I can understand why you think that way. And we had a respectful conversation. That's the way it should be in this country. But I feel like Trump has sparked so much bigotry and so much hatred in this country and so much division. And that's why Kamala Harris says we're not going back. And that could mean a bunch of different things. That could mean 100 years ago. It could mean slavery, or it could mean going back to the 4 years under Donald Trump. But whatever that means, I'm all for it. All the above. We're not going back. And I am all in for Kamala Harris. I think she's a nice lady. She's a good mother. She's a good wife. She's an educated woman. And yes, she is qualified to be president of the United States, regardless of what Trump's surrogate might come on and say, calling her the border czar. She's absolutely qualified. And the guy who gets up in the morning and puts on 8 layers of orange makeup and then puts on his shirt and swings a golf club on the golf course being morbidly obese, that's the guy who is not qualified to be president of the United States.
Absolutely. And you'd be surprised. It's not just the people in this country, too. It's the people all over the world, okay, that don't want him.
Oh, absolutely.
I still have friends in Europe. Yeah, I still have friends in Germany, and I spent 11 years over there. And and I travel all the time, and they don't want him. They're not going to come out like we are, and stuff, and really talk about it. But it's true.
Well, I mean, just like Melania Trump, she doesn't want him either. So I think we're all in agreement there. Thank you for the call, dear. It's good to hear from you. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you. Got to make people laugh once in a while here, man. Melania Trump. Oh my God. Can you imagine that?
I could not.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine having to conceive with no, I don't even want to. It's lunchtime. I don't want people to throw up. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next up on PTL. Hello, Al.
Hey, Al.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I'm going to make a comment in support of Trump and one in calling him out and not supporting him. First of all, he's only going to get 15% of the black vote if he's lucky. Honestly, the Latino, I want to tell him, you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You know that they're gonna thrash you. What are you doing going over there? What are you doing going over there?
Well, Roxanne
where you're walking into a place
I'll
that
tell
people
you
don't
why.
like?
Roxanne said it best. He went there to appease his base, attack the black women on a stage. And I hope you disavow that, Al. I really do.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, one more time because I changed my phone. Go ahead one more time.
Roxanne said it best. Roxanne, why don't you tell him? I don't have to repeat what you said.
What I said, Al, is that he didn't go looking for love in all the wrong places. He went there to stir up his base. He went there intentionally knowing how that conversation was going to go. But his base that was watching it, he gives them an opportunity to say, y'all see what y'all need to do? Do you see what we need to do to make America great again? Mm-hmm. Because these people, are not going to do it. This is what they think. This is how they are. They're stupid. They're unintelligent. And it's just riling them up. That's all he went there to do.
Well, yeah, that's a possibility that he's creating negative attention. And, and the thing is that, he definitely lost votes. If you're going to be going, I've run for office. You know that, getting in front of voters is very difficult. And every event you go to, you got to go to pick up voters. You don't go over there to go lose voters.
But he thought that he was picking up voters by riling up more of his base. So if you think about it and use his mindset, he didn't come there to get more black people because he knew that wasn't going to happen, not in that audience. But he did probably pick up voters.
He went over there. Well, that wasn't either way, that wasn't very smart.
I agree.
And it just goes to show he doesn't know. I mean, he's got to change his campaign strategy. Now, if he really wants to win, he should be down here courting the Latino vote, which is the second largest voting bloc now. Okay? And I'm calling you out, Trump. I mean, why don't you come over here and talk to us?
He is courting that vote heavily, though.
Kamala is coming out here talking to the Latinos. She had a party at her house inviting all the Latinos, and I'm looking like an idiot over here trying to bring in the Latino vote for him.
Well, I'm not going to
Well,
disagree with you there. I
me
think,
either.
yeah, I mean, if you're a Latino and you think Donald Trump is
It's
best
for
serving
you,
your people,
while
then I'm
he's
not
saying close the
Yeah.
border, shut them down,
Yeah.
lock them up.
Yeah.
They're all thugs and drug dealers.
You know, he's got king. And the thing is that, you know what, I got to tell you, because, you know, even the Republicans complain about our messaging. Our messaging sucks. I hate to say that. Okay.
No, but it's not just
And
sucking.
I'm
So,
calling
Al,
you guys out.
tell me if you disagree.
Huh?
Tell me if you disagree. I think it's worse than that. I don't even think your messaging sucks. I think it's deplorable because the messaging is we're going to ban books. We're going to attack the LGBTQ community because you guys do that. I'm not saying you specifically, but the right wing of the party, they're anti-gay marriage. They don't want to, they want to tell all women what to do with their bodies. Project 2025, let's ban abortion across the board. They're against, they're against really anything that could help a single woman raise a child. They just are. The DEI hire nonsense.
I think, I've said it before that I'll work with anybody, that you can be a conservative Democrat, a conservative nonpartisan, a conservative Republican. I think the American dream is about what everybody wants, is a nice place to raise a family, to have a good job, and get a good education.
And do you think Donald Trump represents that?
I think I think he's trying to, but he's not being very clear about it. That's supposed to be what the Republican
I'll let
Party
Roxanne
is-
respond to that because I'm gonna blow a gasket. Go ahead, Roxanne.
I don't
No,
know.
go ahead.
I don't know.
I think that's what I think but it's way back in the back burner. People can't see it.
No, it's
That-
not in
or
the
at least
back
as a
burner.
All right, let's
It's
let
not.
Roxanne respond to that. Al, go ahead.
That
Go ahead.
that messaging is not there at all. It's not on the back burner. It's not a part of the plan. He doesn't care. He's
Okay,
looking
that's
out
a
for the
possibility.
wealthy.
There's a point going. Go ahead.
He's
No,
looking
I'm
out.
listening to you.
He's looking out for the wealthy. He's not looking out to take care of families and do better jobs. He's looking out for his friends that have the big dollars to make sure that they keep more of their money, that he makes sure that they get more contracts, that he's making sure that their lives are enriched while the middle class continues to suffer and pay for the rich and the poor.
Right. Well, the thing is that, okay, that's fine. And, this is not in defense or in contrary. I just want to say that was supposed to be why he got J.D. Vance in there, because he's supposed to be catering to the middle, to the working class
So you
white
think-
guy. But
How does he
based on
do
your
that?
statement,
When
that's
how
not
does
what's
he
happening.
How does he do
Go
that
ahead.
when the very first thing out of JD's mouth is that women are cat women that don't have children?
Well, that was said a long time ago.
No, 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 no. He doubled down on
fine.
that.
I'll take you guys on that.
And
that's
he
correct.
stood
Okay,
on
that's
that.
fine.
So
I'm not going to go there because I don't know. But if he did double down, shame on him.
Well, wait, hold
But
on
I'm
a
gonna
second.
tell
Hold
you-
on.
Go ahead.
You're not.
Go
I'm
ahead,
just
go ahead.
going. You're not going to go down there because you don't know that. Hold on a second. You're a Donald Trump supporter. You're voting for Donald Trump. J.D. Vance wants to put in policy, if you don't have kids, you should be taxed more. How can you not know that if you're voting for them?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, because the thing is, there's just so much going on. There's a lot of stuff to keep up with.
Why would you vote for a ticket when their vice president wants to put in place, I'm going to tax you more if you don't have kids? Al, that is crazy.
No, that's fine. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to answer the question. That's why I'm calling in, because I'm calling out my party. You mentioned about my favorite president, Dwight Eisenhower. Those are the values that we stood for. We supported civil rights.
Then why would you vote for somebody that is the opposite of those values?
Now, my party is just going right
Then
down
why
the wrong
is
street.
why is your party more important than the country? I respect what you just said. Donald Trump is the opposite of that man. Why would you just vote along party lines?
I think we're trying to push. There's a base in us. There's a Republican base that's trying to get things out in that direction, and I'm taking that opportunity right now to get that message out that that's what we should be promoting, not these idiot things that we're saying.
Well, guess what?
But
The
you guys
idiot
are
things.
saying what
Yeah.
you truly believe, though. That's why they're
Okay,
saying what they truly believe. It might not be all of you,
Possibility.
but they're
That's a
saying what.
possibility. And the people that we have in leadership, we need the Republican Party needs new leadership. And needs leadership.
How can
That's
they have
why-
new?
that's
How can they have new leadership if people like you vote for Donald Trump?
That's who you guys chose to be your leader.
Well, there's other guys that I'm voting for, but that's a possibility. But the thing, I hear what you're saying there, and hopefully by getting a message out, maybe we can get through there. But I do want to say that's why Mike Pence is not supporting Trump, because he doesn't feel that he's going. I kind of like Mike.
Because Donald Trump liked it. Because Donald Trump liked it when people were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Maybe that's a part of it. I have zero respect for Mike Pence. Zero. Because he waited till now to call out Donald Trump. Where the hell were you on January 6th? When people were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Okay, am I happy that Mike Pence is not supporting Donald Trump? I guess so. But Mike Pence isn't supporting Kamala Harris either. The heck with Mike Pence. He's no better than J.D. Vance, only maybe he hasn't sexually assaulted couches. I don't know. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to have the conversation. You know, I wanted to bring this up with you, Roxanne, the whole black job. Donald Trump mentioned it again yesterday. We've had Republicans, and they can't seem to define what a black job is. This is very confusing to me. What is a black job, and what do they mean when they say that?
I can't help you. I don't know what a black job is either. Most black people that I know, if not all of them, don't know what a black job is. So I can't help with that. I have no idea what it is. And really, I just considered the source that it came from and dismissed it because I don't know what a black job is.
I don't understand why they keep bringing this up.
And it sounds to me, in the context in which he's saying it, is that it's used negatively, like the smaller jobs, the menial jobs, like the fast food jobs or the janitor job or the housekeeping jobs. That's the best that I could do, but I don't really know what he means by they're taking the black jobs because the immigrants that are coming to this country that he's really talking about are of Latin descent, the majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if he's saying that they're taking our jobs. I have no idea where he's going with that, and he's not even worth entertaining.
I agree. All I can say is we took an orange job away. Joe Biden did in 2020, and we got to make the orange job doesn't get the job in 2024. Who do we have here? I believe we have Anna, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
So I was listening to the last caller, and this is like a big sticking point for me. I'm a recent student of philosophy. And the one thing that's driving me nuts is these people still define as Republicans or conservatives, but like true political conservatism was slow, cautious reform.
Yeah.
And they keep calling themselves this, but that's not what they're doing. I mean, you try and make the least amount of change possible to impact tradition in the smallest possible way.
Right.
But to still make that change, you need to make things better.
Well, but that's the thing. Make America great again does not mean make things better for people. It means make things the way they were 80 years ago. That's what make America is.
I know, and Roe versus Wade was in place for what, like 50 years?
50 years,
so that's a long-standing tradition, and they overturned it very quickly, and that's just it's not conservative. So I just wish they would stop calling themselves that, and it's driving me bonkers.
Yeah.
And I guess the other point I have is that I'm not noticing people say this a lot on social media yet, is that everybody's pointing out, like, Trump making a fool of himself yesterday was like a positive thing, which, yeah, I guess it makes him look bad. But not a lot of people are mentioning that those poor women, they allowed those poor women to be attacked with those racist comments, and no one stood up to protect them. I was shocked.
All we can do, I'm up against the clock. Thank you, dear, for the phone call. You're right. All we can do is call it out. And I think we need to make orange orangutans great again. And, Donald Trump has done a very poor job with that. So, but she's right, though, in all seriousness.
Well, how could they? In fairness, he did attack them, but I cannot say that they did not expect that from him.
They had to, right?
Anybody that's going up against him know what he's going to bring in his portion of the conversation, because that's what he does. He calls names, he deflects, and he demeans. And so they knew that, but they still made their point, is that you can't answer the question. So I wouldn't say those poor women, because there was nobody that could protect them. And plenty stood up for them on the backside on social media and on the news outlets and stuff like that. But at that moment, they knew what they were walking into.
With that said, I still feel like 2 out of those 3 women on that stage were being a little victimized, but they knew what they were getting into. With that said, I don't feel for Faulkner at all.
They stood there. They held their own. I think that they held their own
They did.
just fine. fine.
They did. They
So-
did. And most powerful women, most women are able to do that.
They didn't need
in front
saving.
of Donald Trump. Yeah, and he's very. Let's just be honest. Let's just call it for what it is. He's been terrible to women his entire life, particularly black women, and he will continue to do so. Roxanne, thank you so much for being here. It's been a lot of fun.
Pleasure's
It's
mine.
good to see you back here, and hopefully we can do it again soon. All the lovely work you did with the NAACP, and now you have new ventures moving forward. But I wish you the best of luck, and I just want to remind everybody too. Please check out my new website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We are independently owned. That means we rely on people like you to support what we do. There's plenty of merchandise up there, and also a donate button, and you know, whatever you can afford, we appreciate, so that we can continue to do what we do here. And we have a big show lined up for you tomorrow with 3 big guests. But guess what? I'm not going to announce it on the radio because everybody has Wi-Fi, I hope. You can go on your phone. You can go on your Twitter page because I am going to be posting that here in the next hour. We have 3 very special guests, one prominent Democrat that's going to be joining me on the show tomorrow as well. And there is a very small chance, but a chance that Donald Trump could be joining us on the show to start the show tomorrow. We're only going to get him for like 5 minutes. There's a possibility, so you're not going to want to miss that. Trust me. Donald Trump might be joining us on the show tomorrow. Roxanne, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks to Justin. Same time, same place. See you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is.